Oh, that can't be good. I guess they're in no position to sign any. Wait. Okay, calm down now. Alright, what's going on here? Are we being pranked or something?
No. Reality can be whatever I want.
Barcelona have just had one of the most confusing summers of all time. One second we hear reports that they are broke and are in desperate need of funds. The next thing we see is them spending hundreds of millions on player transfers and wages in the middle of their supposed economic crisis. Not only that, but the 8 years leading up to this summer have been equally inconsistent and confusing for the club. On the field, the club has been going through a bit of a disappointing stretch in the past few years. They've gone from being treble winners to ousting a scandalous president who was allegedly secretly slandering players in the media, to losing their greatest player ever, to falling some ways behind their Madrid-based rivals. Oh, they are also known to be victims of quickly taken corners, which is never a nice thing. Having said all of that, they've had a strong start to the new season and appear to have righted much of the ship. However, they've still got a long way to go. Our job today is to dive down the timeline to track how we've gotten to this point and do some mental gymnastics to figure out what the future may hold for Blaugrana. So with that being said, what's been going on at Barcelona? Yo, what's going on guys? Hope you're doing well. I'm Tinashe. Welcome back to another Football Iconic video. This one might be on the longer side, but hopefully that doesn't matter. It's all in good fun, you know? But before we really get into it, we gotta thank the sponsor of today's video. Alright guys, the new football season's well and truly underway, and that means a couple things. First of all, it means we got our weekends back. Second of all, it means Couch Critic season is also back. So how about you go ahead and put your football knowledge to the test with the sponsor of today's video, Spitch. Spitch is a daily fantasy football manager that allows you to take control of a team on each new match day. There are a wide range of competitions to choose from, like the Premier League and the Bundesliga. They've also just recently introduced a new season mode feature in the 22-23 season. In this game mode, managers select a new lineup each match day, and your best 5 match days throughout the season will count towards your final ranking. The app makes use of a vast array of in-game stats to track performances, and winners with the most points can even win real money. If all that sounds good to you, go ahead and download Spitch using the link in the description. And if you're so inclined after that, you can use the one below that to join my community, the Iconic League. Thanks again to Spitch for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. So a lot has happened at the Camp Nou over the past decade or so. Obviously, you won't be able to cover all of it, but just so we're all offered a bit of much needed context, I want to take us all back to 2014 to start this one off. 2014 was big for a few reasons over at Barcelona, and in a way, this is where many of the problems that the club has faced over the past few years have stemmed from. So 3 big events happened this year. First big event, Neymar had transferred over to Barcelona in a bumper deal just prior to the 2013-14 season. The guy was the most hyped Brazilian to touch grass since the likes of Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, you know the crowd. So when the €57 million transfer went through, the excitement around the club was pretty tangible. And a lot of that was because at that price, for that player, with that much hype surrounding him, this was pretty much a steal. Only problem was that 57 million was a tad off the mark. After an investigation conducted in early 2014, it was found that the true cost of Neymar was in the region of 86 million euros. Oh, that's a pretty big gap. 40 million euros of that went directly to a company owned by Neymar's parents, which is highly irregular to say the least. And to top off this scandalous affair, Santos, Neymar's old club, only received 17 million euros from the sale. Was any of this of an illegal nature? Maybe, maybe not. It looked odd back then, and can't lie, it still kinda looks odd to this very day. But at the same time, what do I know? If you go into the comments of any video that I've ever made on this channel, you'll find out the answer pretty quickly. Not much. But what I do know is that in the midst of all of this drama, Barca president Sandro Rosell, the orchestrator of this transfer, resigned from his role. And literally 1 day later, all the actual details of the transfer came to light. 1 month later, Barcelona were charged with tax fraud. Second big event. Following directly from the resignation of Rosell, in stepped Vice President Josep Maria Bartomeu as the new president. A man that I'm pretty sure every Barcelona fan watching this absolutely adores. But more on the reasons for that later. All you need to know for now is that he is there at that point. And finally, the third big event. And somehow, this one is of a far less controversial nature than all of the above. Luis Suarez joined the club in the summer of 2014 in an estimated €82 million deal. And again, it's pretty funny that out of all of the events I've just laid out, this one was probably the least controversial. And I say that because... Bro, why? For his third bite-sized offense, Suarez was handed a 4-month suspension from all football-related activities after mauling Giorgio Chiellini during the 2014 World Cup. Dude wasn't even allowed to enter a stadium as a spectator, let alone play in one. This is actual footage of him before being thrown out of Camp Nou for the season's opener. In any case, once those 4 months were up, I would say that the wait was worth it, because the world was treated to what is, in my opinion, the greatest attacking trio of all time. Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, and Neymar. MSN. At the time, I remember the excitement around these three being insane. You know, people saying that they would be world beaters and that they would wipe the floor with everyone. And these are pretty lofty expectations that don't always come to fruition. But these guys delivered on the expectation, alright. Luis Enrique was now heading up the coaching side of things, and once again, as if by habit, Barcelona was sporting a squad for the ages. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Piqué, Alves, Alba, Mascherano, all players that had been around for a while but hadn't lost a step at all. The heavy possession-based, not as traditional but still very much tiki-taka based gameplay was mesmerizing. Passing triangles all over the place, utilizing every pocket of space on the field, and confusing every opposing defender around. Now, these guys were all magnificent, but I'd be lying if I said that my eyes weren't firmly fixated on all the things that MSN were doing every week. In their first season together, they didn't achieve much. Only a treble, including La Liga, the UCL, and the Copa del Rey. I've used this graphic before in another video, but it fits, so I'll use it once more here. These are the highest scoring trios in world football since the turn of the century. First, second, and fourth. It's pretty nuts. And a special shout out goes to Luis Suarez, who is the only man that outscored Messi and Ronaldo during the height of their reign in world football. He actually did it twice. Once at Liverpool, once at Barcelona. But unfortunately for us, this did not last long. This incredible trio only lasted for 3 seasons before being broken apart, which makes this an appropriate time to point out that their entries on this list include every season that they were together. Similar to how he came, Neymar left in controversial fashion. Things were all going great before the country of Qatar came in, snatched him from Barcelona, and hand-delivered him to PSG. A €222 million release clause deal that many claim was the catalyst behind the insane skyrocketing of player prices ever since. Now, the situation was a bit sticky, because in La Liga, when a player's release clause is activated, the money first has to be paid to La Liga in order to buy them out of their contract. After that, the money is then relayed to the club. In this scenario, La Liga refused the payment, citing breaches in FFP. So Neymar and his crew ended up paying Barcelona directly. Nobody was happy about this. Definitely not Piqué. Now, there were plenty of rumors surrounding why Neymar left Barcelona, but what I will say is that for the most part, his reasoning has been pretty consistent ever since he left. Wanting a new challenge, PSG being an ambitious project, all of that. Realistically, only Neymar knows the truth. Rumors of his supposed jealousy to Messi may have some truth to them, but who knows, really? And of course, when we have the likes of Dani Alves, a friend and teammate, saying things like Neymar had to step out of Messi's shadow, it shifts the viewer's perspective in a certain direction, you know? In any case, that was that. End of an era. End of the good times. With Barcelona playing as well as they were, Bartomeu was virtually guaranteed to be voted back into office during the club's 2015 presidential elections. In hindsight, this was a big oof. To understand why, it's worth going all the way back to 2006. Up to that point, crazily enough, 107 years after the formation of the club, Barcelona had never sported a main shirt sponsor. That piece of information alone sounds so far-fetched given where we are today. Other European giants, such as Manchester United and closer to home, Real Madrid, had been sporting company logos on their jerseys and accepting payments since the early 80s. Instead, when Barcelona chose to endorse an organization on their kit, it was the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF. And you heard me right when I said endorse. It was Barcelona that were raising awareness and making donations to them, not the other way around. This was just one example of the many charitable and humanitarian endeavors by a club that has built a strong reputation for their work outside of football. After all, FC Barcelona is more than a club. Now, here's the catch. Barcelona were doing the noble thing. But for a club and business of their stature that had grown to the heights that they had by about the mid-2000s, and especially considering the fact that they were playing in the footballing climate that they did back then and that they still do today, a few changes to their business model were pretty much a necessity. Sandro Rosell, the president that followed Joan Laporta in 2010, was the first to put these changes into action. The Qatar Foundation acted as Barcelona's first ever paid shirt sponsor. Later, Qatar Airways, then Rakuten followed under Bartomeu's reign. Like I said, this was only natural. Following their runaway success, Barcelona had to find a way to stay competitive somehow. And to give full credit to them, they still sponsor UN initiatives to this very day. The United Nations Refugee Agency logo now appears underneath the player numbers at the back of the shirt. And Barcelona have pledged over 500,000 euros per season in funds and sporting equipment to projects in various countries. So they are still giving back more than many other organizations of their size around the globe. Going back to the main shirt sponsors, even though they can be seen as a bit of a necessary evil, I'm sure you can also see how a lot of people may view them as a bit of an unwanted shift in direction for the club. And maybe a big reason for that is the allocation of funds, particularly during Bartomeu's reign, have done nothing but fan the flame of uncertainty. Andre Gomes, Lucas Digne and Paco Alcácer are all players that came at a pretty high cost and underperformed. But following them came the much higher profile, more expensive signings of Philippe Coutinho, Malcolm, Antoine Griezmann, Miralem Pjanic, Francisco Trincao, and many more, all of whom underperformed and were inflating the club's wage structure in a pretty bad way. Something that would come back to bite Barca in the very near future. Initially, I would have included Ousmane Dembele here, but he's always looked good for Barca when he wasn't injured, and he finally seems to be able to stay healthy for more than a few games. Let's see about that one. Anyway, all of this, the cash grabs and the poor spending, combined with a sense that La Masia graduates were not being prioritized and groomed for the first team as they had been for the several decades beforehand. This led to growing frustrations. And a few infamous losses in the Champions League did nothing but make things worse. 4-1 against Roma in the first leg, out on away goals. 3-0 against Liverpool in the first leg. Bayern in the quarterfinals. Oof. That's tough. Now, I really should point out that Barcelona was still winning trophies at that point. Under Bartomeu, the club had problems that everyone could see, but in 6 years, they won 4 La Liga titles, 4 Copa del Reys, and a Champions League. It doesn't sound like that much of a crisis, to be fair. However, when the winning stopped and the cracks could no longer be papered over, things began to get 2020. The cracks are now very much on display. COVID came and the entire world took a financial hit. Football clubs were no exception. Barcelona went the 1920 season trophyless. Debts were rising, and the main reason that they were even winning trophies in the first place decided he wanted out. For a long time, there has been no project or anything. They're performing a balancing act, plugging holes as they go along. The fact that Lionel Messi, the captain and the greatest man to ever wear the blue and red, was speaking so candidly about his beloved club, the club that gave him everything, tells you all you really need to know. But in the end, it was deemed that the only way he would be allowed to leave was if his €700 million release clause was met. An egregious betrayal in the eyes of Messi, as he believed his contract, as well as conversations with Bartomeu that had gone on previously, stipulated that he could terminate his contract prematurely and move on to somewhere else at the time. But thanks to fine print and horrible COVID scheduling, he was not allowed to leave. I'm staying because the president said that the only way to go was to pay the €700 million clause, which is impossible. The other way was to go to court. Bartomeu, the man that everyone blamed for the poor treatment of Barcelona's greatest. And his list of transgressions definitely do not end there. And by the end of October 2020, there was so much heat on the guy that there was essentially no choice but to step down as president. However, in a strange Hail Mary kind of maneuver, he decided to announce Barcelona's inclusion in the newly formed, soon-to-come European Super League. I can announce news that will have an extraordinary impact on the club's income in the coming years. Yesterday, the board of directors agreed to accept the conditions required to participate in a future European Super League, a project led by Europe's biggest clubs. Now, I'm not entirely sure why he's done this. Maybe it was an attempt to preserve his legacy. leave while ensuring the financial recovery of the club from the mounting debts as a parting gift, perhaps. Whatever it was, it did not have the intended effect. A Super League with no meaningful relegation and a guaranteed source of funds for clubs based on their popularity is the last thing that any fan of football actually wants. It goes without saying, this presidency did not end well. But wait, there's more. Since the age of social media, football players, managers, and every public figure for that matter have been receiving tons of flack on social media. Dating back to about 2017, the Barca board officially hired a company by the name of i3 Ventures to monitor the online conversations that were going on about the club. However, according to news outlet SER Catalunya, that was not their only mandate. Several online profiles, articles, and websites started popping up around the time that were all defaming Barcelona players, ex-players, and anyone associated with the club that was critical of the Barcelona board. At the same time, a lot of these profiles were also defending Bartomeu and his board to a large extent. To put it bluntly, they were heavy suspicions that i3 Ventures were hired by Bartomeu and his board to smear the reputations of all of his critics. All of this culminated in the former president and some of his board being arrested in March of 2021 for alleged misuse of company funds and corruption. As far as I'm aware, the investigation is ongoing and definitely isn't conclusive of anything. But what's suspicious is that all payments to the company, adding up to millions, were all apparently made under a €200,000 threshold that does not trigger internal company checks. Whatever the truth actually is, I can tell you one thing. This is a mess. Which brings us to 2022. With Josep Bartomeu, the greatest president in Real Madrid history, now gone, former president Joan Laporta was re-elected into office. And he was very quick to make a few candid comments regarding his predecessor. There was talk of spending, quote, too much and at the speed of light, end quote, player wages accounting for 103% of total income, about 25% more than their closest competitors, and total debt of 1.35 billion euros. To quote a great article by Sid Lowe in The Guardian on the transition from Bartomeu to Laporta, Laporta said his incoming administration had found veteran players on long contracts while younger players were on short ones, questionable payments made to intermediaries, TV money that had been spent in advance, and even a stadium in need of urgent repair as it had become unsafe for supporters. All of this is just to say that the amount of destruction and mayhem that Bartomeu and his board are accused of causing is absolutely insane. And of course, I use the word accused because even though we read things in the media and they seem true, we never know if they actually are. And even when they are, we never know how true, you know? Which brings us to the most recent transfer window. Rumors of Barcelona's death and their suffocating debt were splashed all over the news for weeks earlier in the year. Adding on to that, we also know that they've been asking players to defer their wages dating back to the height of the pandemic in 2020. Lionel Messi did eventually leave in 2021, although by this time he had had a change of heart and was rather forced out due to club finances despite agreeing to a 50% pay cut. We then had some extreme cases of Barca forcing players out, both successfully and unsuccessfully, trying to cut their wage bills and negotiating transfers of their players with other clubs without the knowledge of said players. And yet, knowing all of that, Barcelona ended up having one of the craziest transfer windows, 158 million euros spent, a boatload of free transfers, and God knows how much in wages. How? How is this possible? I guess this is where the buzzword of the summer comes into play. Levers. Let me say this off the bat. There are several other YouTube channels and websites that have gone into way more detail than is appropriate for this channel when it comes to Barcelona finances. The guys over at Tifo and Adrian at Rabona TV are just two examples of fantastic outlets that have done so. I've also linked to a few great articles in the description if you want to dive into further details on the topic. So this is just going to be a basic overview of what the situation was. In addition to restructuring their loans, the Barcelona board also had to balance their books in order to comply with La Liga regulations. Before we go further, it's important to understand that Barcelona never had problems with buying players. They've always had access to the cash. The issue was that La Liga has its own version of financial fair play that determines how much a club can spend on its squad, a salary limit, so to speak. In essence, this is a calculation that puts incoming funds against outgoing expenses, for example, the massive player wages. It's therefore custom tailored to each team. If a team does not abide by their calculated valuation, they will not be able to register any new signings, which is exactly what happened to Lionel Messi. Going into the most recent window, Barcelona was said to have a salary limit of negative 144 million euros. Yikes. This is where the levers come into play. Pulling levers for Barcelona essentially means raising funds in order to increase revenue, which would allow them to offset their salary limit, which would then allow them to register players. In this case, pulling levers meant selling some of their current assets as well as some of the rights to their future earnings. For clarity, the new Spotify deal is a great source of income for them and helps with the equation, but it is not one of the levers. The first and second levers were two separate deals for a combined 25% of the club's TV revenue up to 2047. The third and fourth were again two separate sales of a combined 49% stake of the club's in-house media company. And with all of that, along with some clever accounting, they were given the green light to register their myriad of new signings. And thus, a collective sigh of relief was heard all the way across Catalonia upon the season's opener. Here we have Xavi activating the fifth lever, as no one informed him that Barcelona were in the clear, a true team player. Although many potential crises were avoided, I doubt this feels like a victory to many people. Barcelona were only in this situation due to some dubious internal operations in the first place. This extreme intervention only allowed them to do what a club of this stature should never have struggled to do in the first place. They've had to sell off future earnings for immediate returns and only just managed to achieve their desired outcome. Plus, in a year's time, there's no guarantee that they won't suffer from the same dilemma, having to turn to even more levers. Barcelona have had a good start to the season thus far, and they look stronger than they have in a long while with Xavi in charge. They have great depth, and I expect them to be strong all year. Lewandowski is looking dangerous, as always. Dude just scored a very sleek hat-trick in the Champions League the day before I'm recording this, and all the new signings look like they could all very well be worth it. Some very positive signs, but Barcelona are certainly not out of the woods yet. Can they turn it all around and return to the heights that they were at not too long ago? Perhaps. We'll have to see how things turn out with this one. I'll be watching, that's for sure. And there we have it, a look into the fall and potential rise of Barcelona over the past few years. A chaotic ride, to say the least. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this whole Barcelona situation, everything that's transpired over the past while? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And yeah, feel free to follow me on all the socials, they're all linked below. That is all from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed, hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.